Hello and welcome. My name is Rudix, and today I will be speedrunning DreadOut for PC. We will be doing the end is the beginning is the end category. If you're interested in running this yourself, you can reach me at Twitch. .tv/Rudix. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this speedrun. It's quite a fun little survival horror game. Features girl with camera taking pictures of ghosts, similar to the Fatal Frame series. He plays Linda, this character here. She travels around the globe. Not really. She just kind of travels around this town. The, I guess, like, basic story for this game is there's a town that has been having some problems on Thursday nights, and some ghosts and stuff showed up. Then all of a sudden, all these people kind of disappeared. It's basically it. You kind of start off here as Linda in this like random village. She's not really sure what's going on, just as much as I'm not sure what's really going on. Also, just want to note real quick that this is the only time you ever see Ira's phone number. Later on in the game, that actually comes into play. There's a section where you have to answer a bunch of questions, and one of the questions is Ira's phone number. So for those of you looking to get through those questions, and you always wondered, where's Ira's phone number? This is the only spot that it actually plays. So starting off, the game kind of introduces you to the camera, the actual like camera system. It kind of tries to force you into using it, but you don't really need to use it. Some of the puzzles and stuff as you travel through the game require that you use the camera to see that which is not there. And in this case, we already know what is not there. So like this wall right here, we can just like walk right through it since I already know that that is a thing. Also, one of the neat features of this game is the cell phone itself has a flashlight on it. Conveniently has unlimited battery use. We're just going to go and talk to Ira here. You can actually, I have no idea. There's been several times where if you line the camera up just right, oh, there we go. Looks like we did it. You don't get this separate screen. Saves a few frames. Gotta be careful though that I don't run into Ira. It allows you to start moving just a little bit earlier than you're supposed to be moving. So just kind of angle it up to where you can't really see what's going on there. And you skip out on the streamer screen. Here in this room though, they kind of introduce you to limbo. This is like what happens when you die. You enter the limbo state. And the game just kind of like, I guess, feels the need to teach you about that. Oh yes, I've definitely been playing for a while now. All 3 to 4 minutes too long. Probably should take a break pretty soon. Probably not. Alright, so anyways, this room teaches you about limbo. Kind of exit this. Gonna go downstairs now. We hear this faint crying noise of our friend Ira.
I can't leave this place.
I also can't leave this place.
You're the only one who can get out of this place.
We are stuck here for the next hour.
You have to get out of here. Take this key and leave. Now.
So I'm gonna line myself up with this door, so that as soon as this comes up, I'm able to start running in that direction. Gotta wait for our crazy friend Ira to hand us the key. There we go. So the game kind of here is where it really introduces you to two new mechanics. The stamina system, Linda's rate of running and walking is one of them that I will not talk about here. I'll talk about it here in a few minutes. And then the other one is the battle system. So you kind of go down this long hallway until the screen kind of has this blue fade around the outside of it. Then we'll turn around. Just gonna walk for a second. No, like I said, I'll explain in a few minutes the whole running and walking aspect. There's actually some music starts playing there. That's generally the real key to turning around is when the music starts. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this game is very similar to something like the Fatal Frame series, where you're given a camera that you use to take pictures of these ghosts, basically. All the ghosts in this game are based on Malaysian myths and legends. The combat, pretty simple to start out. They don't want to overwhelm you. So we'll have to fight 2 enemies here. We're going to kind of like reverse in the direction that we need to be going. Just have to take 5 pictures of this guy. Then move on to this guy. I'm going to kind of move around him so that I can be still moving in a reverse direction towards my goal here. The unfortunate thing about this camera is that, oops, you can only take, I mean, you can sit here and spam pictures, but the enemies are sort of invulnerable for a second after you take your initial picture. So we've gotten those 2 guys. We just go back over here. Pretty simple. And then the real game basically starts after this. This whole section was originally the demo for the game. And many of the users kind of complained and said that it needed to be included in the full version of the game. So when they upgraded from... Originally this game came out, it was just Act 1, which is what we're going to be starting here. The player base was kind of demanded that the demo be included as part of the full game when they added in Act 2, so that people had a better understanding of Linda and Ira, I guess. As someone that has spent several hundred hours playing this game, I don't really see the point in Act 0, other than kind of teaching you the basics of how everything works. We have a couple of cutscenes here that we'll be skipping. This section, it's kind of timed. Basically, you kind of run over here to Miss Siska and everybody starts talking. So you're given as much time as you want to kind of switch out your costumes at the back of the van here. There's a ton of different costumes that you can choose from. Like I said, you have, it feels like forever to pick your costume. I'm going to go ahead and pick my favorite, which is the, I played DreadOut for 2 hours and all I got was a lousy t-shirt, which I think is 2 more. Yeah, this should be the white outfit. And then this one is my favorite. Alright. So after they get done like arguing, our good friend here will walk up, start looking around.
Whoa, this place is so awesome.
We're gonna talk to him twice.
Oh man.
So I'm gonna start mashing the E button
So, how do we get over there?
to initiate our dialogue with this guy. That's 1.
What is it, Lynn? Hold on a sec.
That's 2. He'll start walking over here, kind of like sorting through the bushes. Since we need to go through these bushes here, I'm just gonna kind of try and line myself up with our good friend here. Don't want to get too close to him though, because then I'll actually block his path, which will mess him up. Alright, so we have the next 4 minutes basically to, not really to get to town, but it takes about 4 minutes to get to town. They want you, like, to kind of explore around through this section, look around, check things out. There's a lot of, like, backstory. You find all these notes and stuff through here. There's an upgrade. some other things just kind of like lurking about. There are essentially two different ways you can kind of do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This game features a stamina system. So as Linda is running, she'll kind of run out of breath. I made 9 videos of this whole walk into the school here. And what I found was that if you just hold the button walk normally, all the way up to the school itself, takes about the same amount of time. Like, the difference really kind of relies more so on human error than anything else, between doing what we call the 6 steps to stamina or just running normally. Whenever Linda starts to breathe heavily, like really heavily, you can take 6 steps basically, and she'll start to she'll recover most of her stamina. But after a while, and since this is such a long trek, after a while those steps kind of add up somewhat awkwardly. So it's whenever she runs out of breath, she takes 16 steps. So if you do this like 3 times and you mess up at all, it can eventually, like, one starts to outweigh the other. So like I would come up on this van at different times, like that van that I just passed there, or even like this one up here. And like I said, it all kind of comes down to human error. The difference was so minute that it was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like hold the run button basically, because otherwise you would probably, because it's not really so much based on her steps as it is really the amount of time that you spend running, it would be I guess probable to actually calculate the time and kind of base it on that. That's something I do in Slender the Arrival. When I do speedruns of that, I actually use a timer for something like that. Not going to use that for something like this, just because it would drive me crazy while trying to do commentary here. But over shorter sections, much shorter sections of traveling, I'll actually count out my steps and stuff like that, because it does start to add up the amount of time you would save from something like that. So we finally made our way to the school here. Gonna skip this cutscene. It puts you off in the dark, facing the school. One of the cool things I really liked about this game, playing it casually, is if you actually go back in town, it is now super terrifying. It's your only chance to go back through town and kind of explore.
Kind of crazy museum.
But the game tries to like many times like force you in a direction, but if you turn around, then you end up opening up a whole new area of terror, I should say. If you're into the scary aspect of horror games, it's always fun to kind of turn around and go the other direction. Alright, so starting off here, we're in the school. The game's gonna kind of put us through a few cutscenes here, and then we had to fight off this giant pig. You can actually run up to the pig and it initiates a cutscene. Oops. But you can skip the cutscene by just taking pictures of the pig. Just take a few photos of our friend here. Sometimes it's 5 photos, most of the time it's 4. I'm not really sure what determines that. It's completely at random, it would seem. Whoops. On whether or not I have to take 4 or 5 photos. Go. One of the things when routing this out that was kind of, I don't really know how to put this. It was an interesting experience trying to think about where to go and when, because like this door right here I just opened, I'm not going to go through it now. I'm actually not going to use it until I go to the boss fight. So kind of thinking ahead was a fun thing to do here. So there's an enemy up here we call the RNG Screamer. There's several ways you can do this part. too slow. You have to take a picture of her back. Oh gosh. Most of the time I actually just completely ignore her because she's more annoying than anything else. But for the sake of this, we'll just go ahead and deal with her for here for a second. Ugh. You can, the problem with RNG Screamer, and one of the reasons we call her RNG Screamer, is because she'll teleport around the entire upstairs. There's a way to, there's like a quick kill you can do with her, but like I said, I'm not really used to fighting her. I typically just completely ignore her. Since you can actually just run around upstairs, but she'll a lot of times just like teleport around close to where you are, which of course can get really annoying. Whoops. Let's just see if I can go like around her. You have to take a picture of her back in order to actually defeat her. Sometimes this can take all of 2 seconds, sometimes this can take all of 2 minutes, which is one of the reasons why I never bother to actually fight her. Oh, there we go. There we go. Alright, anyways. So most of the time with her, what I'll do is I'll actually just like take a picture of her till she teleports behind me, and then I'll just continue to run forward. However, the problem with that is that while you end up saving time by not bothering to fight her, there's always a chance that she'll continue to like harass the heck out of you and actually eventually kill you, which definitely doesn't save any time. So if I'm going for like some real serious attempts in this game, I generally just ignore her. But there is a quick kill you can do on her. If you line up just right and you take, it's like 2 pictures and then you immediately turn around and take a picture of her back when she teleports behind you. You have to be lined up really well, and it's not very accurate because of the angle in which she respawns is sometimes kind of random. Which once again, like, not really something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not really something I generally feel like dealing with. It's much easier, and like another problem with having her just like run around at random is she can show up in the boss room, which fighting both her and the boss at the same time can sometimes be a little more exciting than you may initially have wanted it to be. But it definitely makes for a little bit more fun adventure. So this time I think I just take 2 pictures or 3 pictures, I'm sorry, and he leaves me the heck alone. He actually got stuck on the wall there somehow, which is quite convenient because I didn't have to move around too much. But he can sometimes be a problem because he'll show up and because he just kind of walks around the downstairs just at random. Whoa. He can sometimes be a nuisance. Luckily he behaves, I'd say, a good 90% of the time. So now we've got the keys. We're going to go unlock the upstairs. There's actually 2 different paths you can take. You can go up the stairs to the right there. Both paths take about the same amount of time. However, this one is the path that I'll take since I'm used to having the RNG Screamer girl still up, wandering around upstairs. She, like I said, she teleports all over the upstairs. So I want to stay downstairs as much as possible generally to kind of keep from having to deal with her. This actually bypasses her like initial spawn area completely, so I would go this way by having the choice of going this way. If you do end up going the other way, there's way too much chance that you'll end up having to fight her and the boss at the same time. Alright, so here's our first like real boss of the game. Originally, this was kind of a pain. A lot of, probably the most like complained about part on the Steam forums is fighting this boss. You can kind of like force spawn him. Oops. Instead of dealing with a lot of like RNG, you can make him respawn quicker by leaving your camera up until he completely disappears. Originally, he would just kind of like hang around for a while, and it could become somewhat of a pain for timing, because it could take like 30 seconds, it could take 2 seconds, but if you leave your camera up like this till he completely despawns, then he respawns rather quickly. Makes this fight go by a whole lot faster. He most of the time will try to spawn behind you as well, so as long as you're ready to start moving forward, oops, most of the time, and then just kind of staying in the center of the room so that I can pick up the scissors really quickly. That's pretty much how you get through that with a little trouble. But it was interesting when this game first came out, reading the Steam forums for this, because it was a ton of complaints about that boss right there. You have to fight him in such a small room that it can be a real pain if you're I want to say too careful. By being too careful, that boss action could be pretty rough. So now we're going to head over to our sleepy pig friend. It's hard to hear Linda's... 1, 2, 3. I may have waited too long. It's hard to hear Linda's breath sometimes with all the other random background noises going on. But you kind of rely on her breath on knowing when and where to start walking. Of course, we can access that the keys here from quite a distance, so it's just kind of funny watching Linda like slide into it. The door we just came through, if we try to go back that direction, is now blocked off. Many of the paths now are like completely blocked off. Oops, like if I, oh gosh. If I try to go up these stairs here, that thing keeps me from going upstairs, because the game tries to force you down this hall over here to kind of solve a bit of a puzzle. We already know how the puzzle works, so I'm just gonna go ahead and walk through this like crowd of moths here. There's actually a hidden door along the wall. Can't remember if it's this one. I think it's this one. If you don't find the hidden door in time, then you'll end up getting attacked by this thing over here. Just kind of mess around there. The game lets you move around during that like scene, basically. Alright, so originally when we did this, you could actually bring your camera up here, she would teleport away and you didn't have to like really deal with her, but instead now I have to kind of walk around her to get over to this section. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, there's a door that we actually opened earlier that's down this hall. The game tries to force you to go to the other direction by having the boss like come up through this door, and you think, oh god, I can't really go this way. However, you can actually take a few hits from this lady here. So we're just going to run at her and then kind of go through her and continue on down. Just kind of really ignore the intended route. It's the same thing with this. The game tries to sort of force you in a certain direction. We just kind of go wherever we want to go. And then also this section right here, the controls are all reverse. So I'm actually pressing down to go forward. I'm trying to primarily rely on our mouse movement to keep us going in the correct direction. And then of course the boss is coming this way, so instinctively you think, I should go the other way. Oops. But we're not going to go that way. We're just going to keep running in this direction, since the exit is right here. I have to be really careful about how late I get to that door, because you can actually get stuck in the wall there. And, whoa, hello friend. You can get stuck in the wall there, which will eventually just kind of kill you because you're stuck there. This is where the original game ended. This is the end of Act 1. So initially, this speedrun of this game is only like 15 minutes, a little bit longer than that, like 15, 16 minutes, because this is where the game ended. But eventually they added in Act 0 and Act 2. And so we will begin Act 2 here. It was kind of neat because it played a little like teaser here for Act 2 and had like to be continued. It was very creepy and built up some pretty big hype. But for now, we will be actually playing Act 2. This game has very few loading screens, but they do take some time. And I think it's nice that there's very few of them, because having a lot of loading screens can become quite a pain. But since it loads the whole area at once, it's very convenient. So this section right here, it's all timed. Can't remember how long it actually takes. You really don't have to do anything. The game wants you to kind of like wander around this area and see if you can figure out what's going on. And eventually, by the time you've like checked everything, this door becomes unpassable. So like if you run at the door, an enemy will like pop out and push you back. Otherwise, you just kind of sit in the middle and wait for this like, I don't even know how to describe the instrument that starts playing. It's like a banjo harmonica thing. Some kind of crazy music will eventually start playing. And then all these little gremlin-looking things will come out. And eventually one of them steals your camera. Alright, so here we go. So that initiates the door trigger there, that sound effects that just played. And the music kind of starts, and all these little dudes show up. This is all timed. There's nothing you can really do. And taking pictures of them doesn't really do anything to increase the time. Moving around doesn't really do anything. If you try to head towards that door, it'll actually push you away. An enemy will come out and knock Linda back. The game after this section, there's like a little cutscene that plays, and the game automatically positions you in the middle, so it also doesn't, I mean, I could go stand anywhere I wanted to. I could stand over here. Doesn't really matter because it's going to put me back in the middle after the cutscene. Actually, it's more like right here is where it'll put me after the cutscene. So there's this little scene that plays here. I'm just going to escape through it. Where one of the guys steals our camera. So now we're completely defenseless. And we have this section with Danny here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We want to have as much stamina as possible as we go through here, because we don't want to have Danny end up killing us. We are going to try and make as best of a beeline as we can towards this door. When this game this like act or whatever first came out, this whole section was like horribly glitched. Danny was like way faster than you were, and all sorts of other random nonsense. One of the ways I ended up actually defeating him, like quote unquote defeating him, was I got him stuck in a wall, and he couldn't go anywhere because he was stuck, because this was still very glitchy initially. But they gave you an umbrella to kind of get through this next part, which there's no enemies here, so I think the umbrella is more so just to give you this like sense of security. Then we have kind of a like Dragon's Lair sort of QTE event. QTE event? Wow, QuickTime event that lets us get through this section here. But it's not. I say Dragon's Lair, but it's really, you have so much time, it's kind of ridiculous. But the thing is that it doesn't actually tell you like what direction you're supposed to be pressing. So like there will be sections where it's like I may as well just already be holding right at this point because I know I'll need to be going to the right. You can sit there forever and like a bunch of weird sound effects will start playing, like all this other stuff will be going on. But eventually, if you take too long, he'll catch up to you. Not really much to this section right here. It's like I said, it's all just kind of you have to be holding a button at certain times to get through it. The game never has any sort of like notifications on what you press. So like here, I know I need to be pressing left, but if you like wait around long enough, he'll eventually get over to these boards and like grab you. But if you're already holding left, then he'll kind of like teleport over here to go ahead and already like do that scene. So like I said, as long as you know which direction you're supposed to already be holding, it's actually a pretty simple QuickTime event thing. And then once again, we're going to have to be running from Danny here. There's a way you can do this without getting grabbed, but I am extremely awful at it. And it doesn't really matter anyways, because the amount of time you save is completely minimal at this point. If you're just learning this game or you're just getting interested in it, I wouldn't worry about it too much. However, there is a way to actually go through this whole section without getting grabbed. But I'm not going to worry about it because it's too much concentration, counting steps and all that sort of stuff. The one thing I definitely don't want to do in something like this is drive myself crazy trying to like concentrate on too many things at once. There used to be a glitch in there. I think they finally fixed it. But there was a glitch there where if he grabbed you as you fell through the trigger, then Linda would actually be underground here. You could just barely see her hair as you walk through this section. You actually have control of Linda here, so you want to kind of be pressing the correct direction, which is down in this case. Just to kind of reiterate from what I was saying a second ago, I do, in fact, do serious runs of this, or I have, at least for the past like year or two, done serious runs of this game, so I do normally do a lot of like the walking and running stamina thing. But like I said, for the sake of my sanity while trying to do commentary, I will actually be skipping out on a lot of that. However, if you are interested in seeing how all that works, like I said, you can reach me on my Twitch channel. Ask me to kind of better explain it. Alright, so right here they give us this SLR camera, the superior camera because it has a zoom in and out. There's a way you can do this. I'm not going to try and time it out because it's way too much trouble. There's a way you can do this where you actually stop at a certain point and it saves you a few steps later on. Because if you do this correctly, every single time you'll stop on the same spot. Or at least he'll stop on the same spot, I should say. So you can actually be like, essentially you stop like right here, so that he always dies on that thing right there, which would save you a few steps, but trying to time that out while talking is not something I want to do. Then you can pick up your stuff here. You actually can't walk or anything like that or run until you get to that. You're only walking. And then immediately after that is a ring, which adds a little bit of stamina, so we pick it up because it's only a couple frames for the sake of having a lot more stamina and a lot more health. The game very conveniently, when you go into Act 2, the game automatically gives you all of the upgrades from the first section of the game. So going into Act 2, Linda actually has quite a bit more stamina and health than she did during Act 1. Also, since we have the SLR now, we have this ability to like do this flash, which will stun some ghosts. In a speedrun, we never really use it other than being able to see, because the game can get quite dark in some sections. Alright, so going through, oh my gosh. Alright, so going through here, we're going to walk here in a second. So I'm just going to, whoops. Alright, well, Game's gonna go ahead and walk for me anyways. So there's 3 little puzzles you have to solve here. This was probably the most confusing part of this game when I first got to this. There's a little candle you take a picture of there. That one's pretty simple. The next one, though, I saw all over the forums, like later on. You have to do the flash feature for on top of that cat, which kind of sets you up to be able to zoom in. You have to be zoomed in all the way and actually right up on top of that log there in order to take the photo of that one. And then the third one over here, since I was familiar with like a Caduceus king, or however you pronounce that, the whole Caduceus type thing with the snake and the guy, this puzzle was actually really easy because I saw this and I was like, oh, well, I obviously know what to do here. Oops. There we go. But that was one that also confused a lot of people. Some of the puzzles in this game can be a bit tricky, but luckily your journal actually has quite a number of interesting hints to kind of help you out. So, there we go. So it's not, I don't want to say a step down from a game like Fatal Frame in terms of the puzzles, because they can be quite confusing, but they're definitely not too confusing so as to get really frustrated. Kind of botched that up. That's okay. We have our next boss here. This guy right here. You just take pictures of his eye and then move out of his way. Right here. By that guy. He'll spawn a number of like these little guys. I'm gonna like build up my stamina basically as they initially spawn here. Kind of take pictures of them at random. This one I'm not really sure how many actually spawn, but it's a lot of them. And you can't take a picture of them when they first like appear. You have to wait a second. So it's like, may as well kind of like chill out for a second. Sometimes they'll spawn like right on top of you. I think that's the last one, yeah. Should be, yeah. So you gotta be really careful about how you take pictures there. So the way he lands is also the direction he's going to go, which is always towards the moon up there. So that kind of helps you know what direction you want to run in when he first shows up. For this part of the boss fight, 5 of these guys spawn. You can kind of fight them however you want. Each one takes like 3 to 4 shots, because it's actually 2 different sets of enemies here. I try to get as many of them as I can, like in one shot, so I don't have to waste too much time. They're not too difficult. You just got to be careful about holding shift for running. Even when you have your camera up, if you're holding shift, it's reducing stamina. So anytime you bring your camera up, you want to make sure you're not holding the run button, or you'll be losing stamina. Not too bad. Alright, so our good friend's going to spawn back down here in the middle. I'm actually facing his tail. Unfortunately, I need him to turn around. Kind of bad on my part. Oops. That's fine. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Like I said, he always is like, he shows up and leaves facing the moon. So you kind of want to line yourself up and be conscious of where the moon is, otherwise you run into what I just did there. And then you don't want to press anything here. The game kind of makes you think you should be pressing something here, but if you press any buttons, then it kills you. So by pressing nothing, the boss just gives up. have to fight another boss. But luckily this boss, you're actually just supposed to die. So she'll appear towards this tree. You can take a bunch of pictures of her if you want. Doesn't really matter because you're basically waiting for her to kind of like drop down. She has infinite health, so it doesn't really matter. But we do want her to kind of like land and then teleport over to where we are, because we want her to kill us as quickly as possible. By this point, you've been like standing around long enough that you're gonna have full health, so it doesn't really matter like what you do on the previous boss in terms of like taking damage. It's always gonna take her a few tries to actually kill you. There should be one more, I think. Yeah, okay, cool. And then her head goes inside her neck. Sometimes she'll like really look down and like her eyes will go into her neck and it's kind of creepy. But then it just sends you into limbo for the second time. And that takes us to the next section. I always thought it was weird that they didn't split the Act 2 up into like 2 parts, because this is kind of like a whole new area. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter how you split up the acts. But that was always something that kind of confused me. So we're back out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to go ahead and switch to this camera. There are some ghosts that spawn around here, but we're not really going to have to deal with any of them. This is, however, the section that kind of determines how the good ending will actually end. So there's 2 different endings to this game. There's like, I guess the bad ending, which isn't really bad, it's actually kind of funny. But there's like the bad ending and the good ending. And then there's the, we're gonna call it the gooder ending. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Might seem weird that I did that there, but you'll find that it's actually considerably faster because I was right at the breaking point of losing my running speed, which I would have taken 10 steps instead of 6. So, whoa, it's better to take 6 than 10. But this section right here, the good ending, has some dialogue that will play if you save era. Inconveniently, it is faster to just let era die than it is to save era. The number of questions that... I gotta walk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The number of questions and stuff that kind of goes along in the dialogue if you sit there and actually try and save era just takes like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's better to just kind of end her life as quickly as possible. This being my favorite part of the game here. Oh, every time, Linda. Every time. So we finally catch up with Ira. And she... there's something a little weird about her. She's got this doll, first off.
Linda, there you are. Finally someone to talk to. I was just heading back to my place to pick some
She
stuff
seems
up
rather
and Bob started
excited.
following me. So I was like, hey, that looks like Linda. Hi, Linda. Oh my gosh,
Linda.
we should totally play a game or something. Hide and seek, tag, I spy, rock, paper, scissors. It's so boring.
I want to
around
play
here, you know?
rock, paper, scissors.
Holy crap, Linda. You look like a hot mess. What the heck have you been up to? Who am I kidding?
Right. But in any case, there's a lot of extra dialogue during the good ending. If you actually go through this whole thing.
That's my name.
But if you pick the bottom choice 3 times in a row,
But
then
have you met Susie yet? Say
Susie
hello to Linda, Susie.
kills
Hi,
Ira.
Linda.
Or, wait, Ira kills Susie? Oh, whoops.
Well, actually,
I picked the top option because I'm retarded.
Let's ask Susie.
But that's okay. We can still kill her pretty quickly.
Susie says, it's somewhere you aren't supposed to be.
Gasp.
She said there's a radio tower in the village nearby. You can climb the ladder to the top and then fall all the way to the... Susie! That's not funny!
As you can see, there's a lot of
That's
extra dialogue
mean.
if you select the wrong option. But
This doll you see,
it's not a big
not
problem.
an ordinary doll. Here, let me show you a trick.
I corrected it by you just always pick the bottom option. Eventually this will happen. We just got like maybe 2 extra lines of dialogue. You pick the top option nearly every single time, and eventually you'll save Era. So like I said, it's not a big deal. So then Era's now kaput. This is one of those sections where you can kind of go backwards through a bunch of stuff. If you go visit some earlier sections of the game, you find out that like all your friends are also dead. Basically everybody's dead at this point. I'm going to use the flash to kind of help me see through some of this section. So I thought that was a very interesting... don't know how to put this. Very interesting way, I guess, of doing like background story. You're like, hey, I can go backwards. Let's go backwards. And then it adds a bunch of spook. All right, 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6. But in the meantime, we're gonna head towards the mansion up here. The only other way to go is up these sets of stairs that just kind of recently appeared. Initially, there was like a tree blocking all that off. I'm trying to spook you here with a bunch of coconuts falling down the thing there. This next section, is kind of speedrun-wise can be a little controversial. There's a way you can actually do this whole next section that's much faster, but there's like a 90% chance. I say 90 because I think it happens every single time, like once or twice for me. But like, you can bring up your camera on just the right frame, essentially, that allows you to skip this whole hallway. But by doing so, it kind of messes up the game, and there's a very large chance that you'll end up soft locking the game, which you can exit the game and then re-enter the game, which takes way too long, really, to do, instead of just running down this hall. But if you, during any of these times that you get pushed down, if you bring your camera up, then it'll kind of skip the pushing sequence and you can just run straight down the hall. But like I said, there's a chance it'll soft lock the game. You won't be able to take a picture of the ghost in the mirror. So really, it's kind of up to whether or not you want to like risk it all on something minute like this. It would probably save a good 30 seconds or so if it actually worked, but if you bring your camera up at all, there's always that risk. So this is going to push me forward. There we go. Alright, and this is where you initially get to where you're like, oh, I could just like, I'm being haunted. Alright, so I think we avoided the soft lock, which is good, because it's definitely a pain when it happens. There's actually 2 separate ways. Sometimes, very rarely, if you switch to your other camera, it'll fix the soft lock and it'll unlock you out of it. But that doesn't always work. Most of the time, you end up having to actually like completely exit the game and then go back in order to fix the mirrors, because the game auto-saves like all the time. It just puts you right before the mirror section. And then we have a boss here. This is kind of a real interesting boss, I guess, when you play this casually. You come into this room and there's objects like everywhere, And then randomly all the objects are being thrown at you. It can be quite terrifying, especially since you cannot actually see the boss itself. So what I do is I try, since my next destination is these stairs over here, I just try to get as close to the stairs as I can. And then I listen for the ghost. Let's see if we can figure out where she is. Just looks like she was behind me. This spot can take anywhere from 30 seconds to like 2 minutes. Oh wow. I just got attacked by a cat and killed. I've never seen this happen before. But you know what? Sometimes things in life, they come unexpectedly. I always wondered how to get the cat attack achievement, and I just got it. Sometimes in life, things come at you unexpectedly, and you try to make the most of it. So this is Limbo. Whenever you die, it conveniently puts you in Limbo, which brings you right back to where you died. This boss is generally kind of, I don't want to say hassle, but like I said, it can take anywhere from like 30 seconds to 2 minutes, just kind of depending on your luck. I try to zoom in as much as I can so that it kind of covers as much. If you zoom out, then you don't get the far reaches of the room. So if you zoom in all the way and you just kind of like slowly move around towards wherever the voices you can kind of hear. You just really gotta listen carefully. Alright, and then eventually like everything explodes and you get stuck in everything over here. Wow. Right, so once again, sometimes life gives you lemons and you have to make use of lemonade, which is delicious. Sometimes you face various trials and tribulations that are very inconvenient when you're trying to go fast. But we keep our head up and we move forward. And hopefully... okay, cool. So the next section of this we go through, it's kind of a neat little... I don't want to compare it to Silent Hill, because Silent Hill is definitely a lot spookier than this, but it reminded me in some ways of that. You have these two rooms that are kind of mirrored. You pass through and it's like, oh, there actually isn't a mirror here. And then you go to the other side, and you go back in here, and now there's a mirror. And you break the mirrors by taking a picture of that thing. It's probably actually longer for me to go this direction, but I out of habit went that way. But it's kind of cool, and there's actually, like, when you get up to the mirrors, you can see that there's ghosts in the room and stuff like that. It's pretty neat. This mirror, on the other hand, had never seen anything happen there. 4, 5, 6. But I always wonder if it's meant, something's meant to happen there eventually. So we're going to go on to the next boss. If you're doing the bad ending, this is the final boss of the game. But we're not doing the bad ending. I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. There's two different ways to do this fight. The easiest way is actually using your regular camera, the like cell phone cam, because you can see a lot more of the room. I have difficulty seeing the ceiling, especially this way. But this is kind of how I learned to do this. So inconveniently, I tried to unlearn doing this and doing it with the regular camera, like your cell phone cam, but it never really worked out for me. So at this point, I just kind of stick with what I know. However, this one's really risky, and unless you're really good at like first-person 360 no scopes, then this can be quite a hassle. You also have to be really careful about taking pictures, because it's not... Sometimes they'll throw in a fake, and if it's a fake and you don't really realize it fast enough, then it can be quite deadly. And since I can't see as much of the room at once with this camera, I have to be constantly moving around, trying to see the areas that I can't see. If you use the regular camera, you actually just like leave it down, and then when you go to take a picture, you turn in the direction and pull it up then. You might want to check out one of the other runners of this game, see how they do it, because like I said, this is probably the most inconvenient way to do this. And I like going back, I wish I had learned to do it using the other camera, because it's especially difficult to see what's going on along the ceiling. Especially... Oh crap, that was a fake. I could be in trouble now. Yeah, but especially once the room starts to get redder and redder, it becomes more and more difficult to actually see the boss there. So I definitely recommend learning to use the cell phone camera if you're interested in speedrunning this game. This would be, I guess, like where the game essentially ends if you were going for the bad ending. We'll kind of explain that as we get there. There are two endings to this game, once again. The one is called Wrong Direction, I believe, where you basically end up running away from all that's going on. But if you turn around and you decide to fight against all that's going on, then you get the good ending, which is called The End is the Beginning is the End, which I believe is kind of in reference to I'm not actually sure what the name of this is, but there's two snakes like eating each other. I've seen the symbol in The Longest Journey as another game that uses that same symbol. This game uses that same symbol a lot. It's just like two snakes constantly going around eating each other. And that's kind of a reference to that. Alright, so I no longer have control over anything that's going on. The game tries to force you into the bad ending here. The camera initially starts off facing away from the school building, so you think, oh, I'm supposed to just like leave at this point. Like, man, all this crazy stuff's been going on. I just want out of here. But if you leave, then of course, like I said, you get the bad ending. Well, it's like bad ending. It's not actually that bad. It's kind of cool because it's all like hand drawn and stuff. But if you turn around, and like I said, turn around and face your fears, which would be back towards the school here. See, even Linda starts off like going in this direction. We're gonna turn around and fight our fears here. Initially, we actually want to get hit by the crazy old lady here. It sets us up into the real boss fight. Oops. You can actually get this thing 2 or 3 times if you wait for it to get as close as possible. So like I could zoom in and take a picture now, but if I wait for it to get in really close, so I'll like zoom in as close as I can, and then take a picture as soon as I can, and then zoom in as far as I can actually get sometimes 3 shots in. Which overall takes much less time. Hello. There we go. Alright, so now we have to like actually do something here. There's that door, as you can kind of see. There we go. I don't know if I got the door or she got me. I think I got the door, okay. Hopefully I didn't like soft lock the game. Okay, good. Over the doors, this like little ghost that'll appear every now and then. So as you can see, what I do is I just kind of like aim for the door and then hope for the best. Which after it does that, it unlocks the ability to actually do damage to her. We are gonna take, I think it's 5 pictures of this lady, and then head towards the door itself. There's no like stun for her, so it's like once we've taken all the pictures and she kind of like disappears, then we're gonna head towards this door. We don't want to get too close because we do want to give ourselves a little bit of room. So I'm gonna get stopped about right here. Then she'll kind of capture us, and then we have to take 3 more pictures of her. Right. It's much easiest, I guess, or whatever, to use the SLR here, just because you can take much faster photos that way. I think. I mean, some people use the other camera, which we're going to use here. Whoops. This whole next like maze section, you can't really see where you're going. We're going to go towards the... Whoops. Wait, I went too early. You're going through this maze while being chased by this woman, so we're going to go through this door to our right here, which leads us to this hall. We go all the way down to the end of the hall, and then to our left. And then we're going to take the first door right here, which sets us in the room where there's like a bunch of different options. We want the one in the far corner. And then to our immediate left here. Whoops. Oops. And then into that. And then once the screen gets like really bright. Might be too far back. Or too far forward. There we go. Yeah. And that would be... basically the end of the game at that point. There's not really much else that goes on at this. After this, you kind of will eventually just start spamming left click during one of the next sections. But after you make your way through that maze there, you're pretty much done. I thought it was actually a really neat mechanic, the maze. It's just like you are completely blind to what's going on without your camera, and trying to make your way through that can be... Your first time, it can be very confusing. And the whole time, the only other thing you can see is the girl coming towards you. So it was definitely very terrifying going through that the first time. Of course, I've gotten to the point where I can do most of that maze. If I'm actually like concentrating on the speedrun itself, I can do that whole maze without bringing up my camera. You just kind of have to get used to the timing of when to turn and when you're actually at a wall and that kind of stuff. But the maze is actually quite simple. This is where you generally just kind of spam left click here, and she'll throw all the chains out. This woman here. I'm not actually really sure where timing ends for this game, but the last time you actually interact with anything is the next one. It's like right here she'll go like you hit left click and she'll bring her hand up, and when she does, that's the last time you actually engage in anything. So I assume that's where timing would stop, but I honestly have no idea, because you have to hit a button for her to bring her hand up. But then that's the end, and that brings us to the end. Is the beginning is the end. And like I said, after this little section right here, there's like the ending starts playing. We'll skip through that, and the credits start playing, and you can skip through that, and then it plays another ending. If you saved Ira during the like post ending section or whatever, Ira will actually be talking about. It's like she like sends a letter or something like that to Linda, and it's Ira just basically explaining a lot of the stuff that's going on. It's kind of a neat little treat for those of you that actually saved Ira. And saving Ira, like I said, it's not that bad, or not that hard to do. You don't actually need the phone number, like Ira's phone number, from the very beginning of the game. But having it does add a few lines of dialogue that are kind of funny. You just have to answer the top choice like a certain number of times, and you pretty much save Ira. It just takes a little bit, like 2 minutes of extra dialogue, because Ira sits there and talks about all sorts of random nonsense, like how to get out, and there's a little bit of backstory on what's going on. Alright, so you can actually skip the credits, you can skip everything here, like some stuff plays, skip that, some credits play, we skip that. And then this is the second ending here. Like I said, normally if you save Ira, then there's Ira actually talking over all of this going on here. She explains a lot of what's going on. And that's it. So, hope you guys enjoyed DreadOut. Like I said, if you're interested in speedrunning it, you can reach me here on YouTube, or you can also reach me on my Twitch channel, both of which have links to all my other social media. It's fun, it's not too difficult. It's mostly just like memorizing the maps and then just understanding how the bosses work. So it's not too complicated. It's a fun way to, I guess, like get into horror game speedrunning, or more just kind of having a really good understanding of how most horror game speedruns work. But yeah, I don't want to call it like I don't want to say it's too easy, because it's actually pretty. There are some sections that are pretty difficult. I probably made the section with the mirror boss like look way easier than it really is, because it's very easy to die on that boss. But I'm so used to doing it that it's not that bad. But this is definitely a good game if you're into horror game speedruns. It kind of teaches you a lot of general mechanics about most horror games have like a stamina system or something like that, and then just kind of the monsters are not too scary, but they're pretty scary. But it's definitely a good way to get into that sort of genre if that's the type of thing you like doing. In any case, thanks everybody for watching, and see you next time.